Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Oxford School of Drama. Lovely to see so many of you there, and thank you for joining us on this virtual open day. I'm just switching my buttons so I can see the long list of people here, and great to see such a fantastic turnout, so thank you very much for that. So my name's Edward Hicks, as my little name says on the little screen there. I'm the principal here at the Oxford School of Drama. And what we want to do with this virtual open day is try and give you a sense of what the school's like, and to help you make a decision in terms of whether this is the school for you. So I'll be introducing you to various people today, including students as well as staff, who will talk to you a little bit about the school, and more importantly, allow plenty of time for you to be able to ask lots of questions that you might have. So do please feel free to ask your questions. And towards the end of the session, we will have a Q&A with both staff and students. So that is coming at the end of the session. We have allowed plenty of time for questions. And we have actually already received questions, which we will also answer at that stage. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the school, you know, our ethos, what we're about. The Oxford School of Drama, just very quickly, it's one of the, if not one, sorry, it's the newest of the drama schools, of the conservatoire drama schools. And we are very small and fiercely independent, and we're very unique. And what I want to do today is take you round the school on a virtual tour. And as I do that, I'll introduce you to various members of the staff who can talk to you a little bit about why you should choose to train at the Oxford School of Drama and why we think it is so special. Yes, we're biased, of course we are, but it is a very special school. And we take the training of actors, the craft, extremely seriously. So we do on our website have a virtual tour. So what I'm going to do is share my screen with you right now. Here we go. And hopefully you can see that. And you'll see it's on the website. So if you go to the website and under About, you'll find the virtual tour of the school. And you can click, there are two versions. There's one that's just the theatre, or there's this one which we're going to go on now. And the great thing about this is you really get a sense of the school. It's very unique. We're very different to most schools. And I think it's our environment, really, which is so special. It means being, as you can see, we're surrounded by countryside. It's an old farm originally on the edge of the Blenheim estate, Blenheim Palace, and all these buildings, rehearsal rooms, offices, coffee bar there, staff room over here, the theatre back here, and more studios behind here. We'll go around. But as you can see from this environment, it's the environment that's so special. And what that allows us to do is really focus on developing your craft as an actor. And it's very much this, this sort of nurturing environment that's away from the distractions of the city, if you like, where you can really focus on that craft. And that's the essence of what a lot of our training is about. It's about allowing you to be in an environment where you feel safe and able to get the best from your talent. And being able to do that without the distractions is a real advantage, particularly early on the course. Obviously, as the course develops and your confidence grows, then it's much more outward focused. But initially, it's really important that that sense of being able to train. And it also is possible because of the size of the school. But we'll get to all of this in more detail. I'm going to take you around. So this is the sort of main outdoor space. It's a fantastic space. We often do outdoor shows here. You can see some swords lying around there that are from a combat class. So this outdoor space has been, is a real asset. And I have to say, in recent times with COVID and all the rest of it, it's proved a massive advantage because, of course, we've been able to do lots of outdoor productions. That's made a massive difference in terms of being able to do shows in these difficult times. I'm going to take you into one of the studios, Studio 3, where I'll introduce you to Juliet. And Juliet is our Deputy Head of Courses, and she's also our foundation, runs the foundation course. So Juliet, I'll hand over to you.
Hello, good to see you all today. Yeah, so one of the features of this school is that we are very small. And due to being small in size, you will receive a lot of individual attention and tuition. For example, as you can see in here, we're set up for an acting through song tutorial, which you would receive if you were on the 1 or 3 year course. Other examples are that you'll have one-to-one tutorials with tutors in movement and voice. And then with productions, there's one-to-one or small support groups during that time. And, you know, every term you also have tutorials, report tutorials. And a way in which we're small is that there is a maximum of 19 students on a course, and we only have the 3 year course and the 1 year course for 6 months of the year. Sorry about my voice currently. And then the other 6 months of the year, the foundation course, join us. And if you are involved in that, then your groups will be even smaller. So you will most likely be with just 16 other students. And the great thing for you is that this gives you the opportunity to get to know everyone, to get to know the tutors, and then have an awful lot of personal attention within class. For me, for us as the tutors, it means that we get to know each of you really individually. We can work with you in specific ways to really help you fulfill your potential. Just for me personally, a yearly highlight linked with one of my many roles, which is overseeing the foundation course, is the moment of bidding them farewell and having those kind of thank you chats and weepy hugs as we say goodbye to them. And often I look at them at that point and you're really struck by how much they have grown in themselves in just so many ways, and the great achievement that is for them. And I think that largely that is due to us being a small and intimate school, and that is how that is achieved. Okay, so thank you. That's what I have to say about that aspect of the school, which is so important.
Thank you very much, Juliet. Thank you. And as Juliet says, this is one of our studios, which in this particular example has been set up for an acting through song class. I'm going to thank you very much, Juliet. And Juliet will be with us at the end on the first Q&A with a panel, and Juliet will be sitting on the panel, so can take lots of questions if you have any questions, especially about the foundation course. Thank you, Juliet. I'm going to move on now to the dance studio. So I'll take you to our dance studio, where we can find Kirsty McFarland. And Kirsty, she's
Hi.
our head of courses, but wears a couple of hats as well. And she's also, as well as being head of courses, and therefore looks out for the 1 year course and the 3 year course, she's also our head of movement, which is why this felt like a very appropriate space for you, Kirsty.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is the dance studio where I teach most of my classes, and we can see that at the moment is set up for a yoga class or some Pilates work, which is some of what we do is just a foundation to building the facility of the physical body. But what I thought I'd talk about a little bit today, having just taught the first term's work to both our first years and our 1 year course, is something that's really central in the training here at Oxford, which is the pursuit, you might call it, of working with truth and with connection. Really from joining the school, all of the tutors across the disciplines, so the acting tutors and the voice tutors and the movement tutors, will be leading the students through various exercises which facilitate a connection to yourself. And we think it's a really vital thing to find that connection with yourself. Let me explain a little bit more about it. I mean, acting is imagining. It's imagining and responding. And what we're interested in is where the point at which your imagination meets your physical experience and, let's say, your physical life and your emotional life. And at that point, you're able to put yourself into the shoes of somebody else while allowing yourself to respond truthfully from yourself. So I always think sometimes it sounds a little bit like a contradiction. You know, actors are imagining being other people. And yet something we explore very much at the beginning of the course, and that we even look for in audition, is that ability to work truthfully from yourself. So you might find that even if you receive feedback from auditions that you do for us or for other schools, that note that you can work more from yourself might be a note that's given. And really that is about finding the place where you ask those imagined questions. What does this person want, and why are they behaving like that? And you allow those questions to be answered from within a truthful place in yourself. We call that kind of emotional life or inner life. And that's our focus of our training, that starts in a gentle form in the first year and builds through the training, whether that's the 3-year training or the 1-year training. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Kirsty. And again, as with Juliet, Kirsty will be joining us on the panel, at the staff panel, so you'll be able to ask lots of questions at that stage. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to take us next to one of our studios, where we'll find Liz. Liz is our executive director. Hi, Liz. And we can just see in the middle, I'll just go for closer. I'll let you take over, Liz. We've got a whole lot of new plays here.
Thanks, Ed, and hello to everybody, and thanks for attending this today. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the importance of a connection with the wider industries, with the wider performing arts industries. And you will, in your time here, of course, most of your training will be with our really experienced teachers. But it's so important for you to also have the opportunity to collaborate and work with practitioners across the wider industries. It's so critical for you to start to feel that transition into the wider industries and play, into the industry that you're hoping to make a career in. So I'm just going to run through some of the different ways in which you'll have that opportunity when you train with us. One of the main ways is working with directors who are active in the business, so to speak. So people who are always potentially future employers for our students as well. External directors start working with us really quite early on in the training, which gives you as individuals, a very different experience to the one that you're having with your teachers. So it's great to have that contrast. So what we try to do is to give you the opportunity to work with a whole range of different directors, and those can be directors who are pretty early on in their careers, so people who are starting to make a name for themselves. It has the potential to give you a really exciting experience in a rehearsal room. And I think with those younger directors, sometimes a really, really strong sense of collaboration, that you're co-makers in a creative endeavor when you're making a piece of theatre together. Theatre or film together. We're also, it's important to have directors, I suppose, who have a real wealth of experience. So, because they know what it is to work, and they understand the dynamic of a company of actors, and they have that experience to draw on to be able to get the best out of you as an actor. What's key to both those kinds of experiences, and it doesn't matter what the experience of the director for you, is that they will always treat you like a professional actor. So you've made that step into the industry and you know what it is when you train with us to be in a professional rehearsal room for either theatre or film. And that's enormously important to you when you're going through the process of learning your craft. Other things that we'll be doing, that you'll be doing if you train with us, is having the opportunity to do master classes. So these are really concentrated moments through your training that give you really valuable insight into your developing process as an actor. So the immediate feedback that you get from some of the industry professionals that you will work with makes, those are light bulb moments often for you to get that feedback from people who are working within the industry all of the time. So they're really valuable. We have some fabulous opportunities for substantial creative research and development with a whole range of different practitioners. So this is getting into a room that you might be taking the germ of a creative idea that a director or writer has and enabling them to develop that into what could be a future project. Again, this could be a future project that included you as a student, and that's happened many times when directors, writers, and other creators like movement directors have worked with our students over a concentrated period, let's say 4 or 5 days, on something that they're developing up as an idea. And you've helped them in the development of a script or in the development of its staging, and you've gone on then to be part of a cast when that comes to fruition in the future. It's a fabulous way for you to learn the different approaches of different creative practitioners, and gives you that ability to go into any room, anywhere with other creative professionals and immediately work collaboratively with people. And that's a really key skill to get on within our industries. We'll have lots of talks and Q&As with people from across the industry. So those could be actors, writers, producers, directors, a whole range. And these are often our alumni who are brilliant at giving us their time, and they can be students who've recently graduated in the last couple of years, and that's a really valuable insight into that transition into the industry that helps you to think about how you're going to do that. But also those who've really established themselves in the industry, as well as a much wider range of, could be directors in Hollywood, as well as writers who are producing work for the Fringe, a whole range, and those really give you the chance to ask the sorts of questions you might have always wanted to ask of people within the profession and have never had the opportunity to do. So really frank and honest exchanges, particularly with our alumni, about what it was like to leave and to launch yourself into business. And here in this room, we chose this room really to talk about the wider industries because we've got a collection of plays sitting there on the floor, and we've kind of set it up for a first read through of a play. But so this, on the seats are some of the leaflets from some of the productions that we've done in the recent past. And the hallmark of all these productions that we've got the leaflets and the seats of are that they were all brand new commissions that we commissioned, and our students worked with the writers and directors on their development. So that's an extraordinary privilege really that you'll get when you're here at the school, is that you will be working on a completely new piece of work that's being written for you. And it's a really collaborative and iterative process with our writer and directors to enable you to be part of the development of a script for a piece that might well become part of the kind of ongoing canon of work that's produced in this country and could be produced into the future. And this collaboration we've been doing with Soho Theatre for quite a few years now, which means that we work with some of the alumni from their writers' groups who've been working with them over a period of time. And so right at the cutting edge of new writing in this country, and gives us the opportunity to give you time to not only work with some extraordinary writers who have gone on to have great careers. Phoebe Waller-Bridge could be one of them that we've mentioned that we've worked with in the past through this partnership with Soho Theatre, and gives you the chance to perform on the stage of Soho Theatre. So that's just an opportunity just to some of the ways that you can get involved in the wider industries when you're training here with us.
Thank you, Liz. And it's a great balance, that, between the sort of idea that we touched on at the beginning about being this small nurturing environment where we can keep people, keep the industry away in some ways so that you can really focus in on the training. But there are obviously key moments throughout the course where we can invite the industry in to have that interaction with you. And as Liz said, has just shown you, there are various moments throughout the course where that happens, from Q&As through to the final year where you start working on specially commissioned work and partnership with people like Soho. A very exciting element of the course. Let's move on to another studio. I'm aware that you're going to have lots of questions for the Q&A, and do keep those coming in. We will get to them in the Q&A. But we're going to move into Studio 2, where Kirsty's going to join us again. A similar looking space. These are wonderfully big, airy rooms. Every tutor likes to work in these rooms, don't they, Kirsty?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just to pick up on what Liz was saying about this collaborative process, I, for a few years, have been arranging the commission of some of our new writing that happens at the end of the course for the third years and the one-year students. And one of the things that's been a real pleasure to be involved in is a workshop that we run with the students and a team of potential writers at the beginning of the process. And we give the students a brief about really bringing any idea that they want to this workshop. So they have a brief and they have some time to go away and flesh out how they're going to share an improvisation in essence to this team of writers who are all pitching to write the new commission. And what I am always really sort of inspired by myself is the breadth of imagination that the students bring. They have political voices, they have social political voices, they have a depth of inquiry about, human experience that may be based on their own experience or what they're seeing going on in the world. And I think it's something that we foster and that we aim to foster even more than we already do, is that sense of the training not only being a place where you learn tools and you learn a craft, but where you make discoveries. Of course, linking back to what I was talking about earlier about working from yourself as an actor, I think it's inevitable to say that the students make discoveries about themselves, about what it is that they have to offer as an actor, and also what it is they're interested in saying. But to talk a little bit more about discovery and the nature of discovery sort of within the training as well. Of course, there are many points within the training where the work requires very thoughtful inquiry. I mean, when you take any text, whether it's a piece of new writing, a classical play, or a film script, you're always asking those questions. You're always delving into the text and asking the questions: who is this person? What makes them tick? And what is their world? And how is it different from mine? And how am I going to get into it? And those questions take time and investigation and a big thoughtful process. But alongside that sits a form of exploration that is playful, and that facilitates discovery in another way. We often talk about play as part of the training, and if you think about children playing, they are immersed in their imagination and in their imaginative worlds, and they're sharing their imaginative worlds with each other. And play is an essential part of the training. It's actually where you expand your imagination. And I think imagination can actually, the tool of the imagination can actually be expanded, and it can also develop further stamina. It's where we build in the stamina of the imagination so that eventually that imagination is able to make those huge leaps we know actors have to make. And I think in play, when we work in a playful way through our exercises in class, and when the students bring themselves to that work, it's a place in which you can ask questions about that world, that person you're trying to explore, and it's a place in which you answer questions in a visceral way, and by that I mean a felt way, an experienced way. And so really that is where some of the craft is formed, the ability to use your imagination and to embark on playful exploration and discovery. And I think just coming back to what I was saying at the beginning about how I'm always so impressed with what the students bring as offers to this team of writers. I think there is a focus on brave, courageous, playful inquiry on the course that not only gives the actor confidence in being able to go through a process to discover that other human being, that character, that other world, but it also gives them confidence about having a voice as an artist. If you have expanded your imagination and also released your tools for creativity and your creative self through a playful approach, you find that your artistic voice is liberated. And I think that we see that in our students on the course, even though they're juggling many balls on the course while they're here, but we also see it in them once they've graduated and they become theatre makers, writers, filmmakers. I'm sure you probably looked at what some of our alumni are doing, but there are many writers that emerge from the training who both write and act. Richard Gadders, of course, a kind of key example at the moment in a way, because he both performs and creates his own work, and now he's spanning many different mediums from theatre into.
Seems to be winning lots of awards at the moment, so he's always a nice role model.
Yeah, and he's in our minds because he's winning awards. But I'm not going to name lots of people at the moment, but I think that delve into playfulness and the delve into the imagination and the courage and freedom with which we invite our students to do that, and also try to join with them in being courageous and bold when we look at being creative. I think that is a great place for the artist maker to start to find their voice. And we're just looking at the masks here, mask work is one of the elements of the training that comes under the umbrella of applied movement. And of course, it is in itself an extremely creative and playful module in the work. But I can speak for all my colleagues as tutors when I say that kind of line of playful inquiry runs through everybody's work.
Thank you, Kirsty. Yeah, play it's a big one, that play, very important and part of the course. And as Kirsty said, it's in every element of the training. It has to be. But you can't play, of course, if you're feeling anxious or nervous or tense. As we all know, tension is an actor's worst enemy. And so the pastoral side of the school is also very important. I'm currently in the music room here, showing you the music room. This is used for radio work as well as for recording music. But I want to talk a little bit about the sort of pastoral side of things, because, you know, we have this beautiful environment where you can really focus in on the work. And, you know, the amount of light we have, I always think, is a very positive influence on our students. But, you know, we have to be honest. You know, sometimes people might struggle because we're so interested in talent, and because talent comes in all kinds of packages. People learn at different paces, and that's fine, that's okay, that's to be expected. And, you know, we're only human. People doubt themselves sometimes, and when they need a bit of support, it's really important that it's there. So the pastoral side of the school is very, very important to us all. And it's not just about counsellors and things like that, which you'd expect drama schools to have and university courses to have. Yes, of course we have those things. And in fact, we have a fantastic relationship with a place called the Oxford Therapy Centre, which is fantastic because they really understand the needs of our particular students and what it's like to train as an actor. So they're a really useful resource. But it's not just there when I talk about care. There's care on the level that, because we are so small, we have very much an open door policy, so that, you know, from, you know, whether it's my office or the staff room or the admin office or Liz's office or Kirsty's office or whoever, there is very much an open door policy. So people just come in for a chat. And sometimes that's all they want. They just want to chat, to kind of offload. That's fine. We're all used to that, and all the tutors are used to that. So it's not just the full-timers, the part-timers are very open for that. And I think that environment, that culture is so embedded in the school because of the size of the school. So it's very easy to get to know everybody, because there aren't many people here. You know, there's only, as Juliet touched on at the beginning, with only sort of, you know, a maximum of 19 students in a group, you get to know everybody. So there's a real sense of family, and that's really important. But also, it's also important that we're training actors, and actors have to have a resilience to be able to cope with the industry. So this idea of resilience is also part of the training, and that's embedded in the training to sort of help you be able to cope with the, you know, the slings and arrows of the industry when you leave. But as play, as Kirsty said, is so important, we have to make sure that you're in a place where you feel that you can play, that you can experiment, that you can take risks. And I think a really important part of what Oxford is about is creating an environment where you can fail, actually, and mess up. And that's really important part of the training. You know, to be able to experiment and take risks, and as I said, sometimes fail. That's okay, because it means you're learning. And being able to do that in an environment where you're away from being seen by the industry, or you're in an environment where you feel safe and supported, is really, really important. So the balance between that and the other side, where you need to be absolutely shown to the industry and shown off to the industry, is really important. So the balance between those two things is really, really key, and very important. I should be showing you more of the site, and I'm too busy talking. So let me take you to another room. This isn't just one of our rehearsal rooms, but for this, it's actually being set up, or is about to be set up, for a film class. Obviously, screen acting, which is a particular passion of mine, having grown up in the film and TV world as a kid, this is a major part of drama training, or I should say should be a major part of drama training, and it certainly is as far as the Oxford School of Drama is concerned. You know, there is a lot of work out there for the actor on screen, and it's no longer just about actors being able to act in front of a camera. It might also be that some of our students will become filmmakers. And we talk about people like Richard Gadd, you know, creating their own work. More and more students, we find, will be leaving and creating their own work on screen. And the industry is crying out for new voices, and it's crying out for people who can create content. So this idea of play that was talked about before, and this idea of working with writers is really important. We want actors who are not just actors, they're actors who can create their own work. That's really important. And the reason why it's important is because that is the way the industry is going. They want more and more people who have something to say. And that's a major part of the future for all, I think. And so that's a very important part of it. And part of the play, I suppose, is learning ways to devise, learning ways to create. A very important element of the school. And whether you be on the 3-year course, the 1-year course, or indeed the foundation course, that support is there throughout. I should just remind you that we have those 3 courses, of course, the 3-year course, which is validated by Trinity College London. And I'm just checking on my notes, that's level 6. I always have to get that right in terms of the qualification framework. And the 1-year course is level 5, all validated by Trinity. The 3 years, the equivalent, if you like, of a 3-year course. Some drama schools have BAs. It's the equivalent to that, a sort of BA type level. And the 1 year is the equivalent of a sort of MA type level, if that's a language you're more familiar with. The foundation course is 6 months. And that's a 6-month course. I'm going to take you now to over to Liz, who's going to talk about some of the nuts and bolts in terms of admissions processing, funding, accommodation, all of that. And while she's talking, I'm just going to show you various photographs and places around the school. So starting with the coffee bar, which is where the students spend a lot of time hanging out and getting lots of information about what's coming up. So Liz, over to you.
Fine, thanks, thanks Ed. Okay, masses of questions, everybody. So thank you very much for that. Both our admissions administrator, Catherine, and I have been bashing away a few answers. So I hope we're trying to keep up with them, but we'll have an opportunity to open the floor later on. But I'm going to try and cover some of the more practical ones that have come through the Q&A in the things that I'm going to say now. So this is the kind of last session of talking at you. So you'll be relieved to hear. We'll go into a Q&A after this to allow you either to ask the questions that you've got in the Q&A at the moment or to expand on some of the answers that we've already given you. So what's come up regularly is in the Q&A is to do with eligibility, really. You know, what does my status need to be in terms of allowing me to be able to apply for a place at the Oxford School of Drama? So I think it's really important for me to start with that and address that area, because there are questions here very definitely about nationality and the fact that the school, this is the first year that the school has not, last year was the first year that the school was unable to accept international students. It's hugely frustrating for us, and I can hear the frustration in some of the questions that have come from you about it. It's because the rules in this country changed on the status of individual trainings organisations like ours as to whether we could offer student visas to international students. And for a small institution like ours, with a small number of courses, it became prohibitively expensive for us to have to adopt a new status, a new validation to be able to offer student visas to international students. We are continuing to lobby alongside many other specialist small training institutions like ours to get this ruling reversed, because it doesn't seem to have taken into account the small institutions like ours who are doing an extraordinary job of specialized training and have enjoyed having a really good mix of students from all across the world. So apologies everybody who is an international student who's here today, that we cannot accept you on our courses. So you need to have UK residency to be on the 3-year course or the 1-year course, and you need indefinite leave to remain or have pre-settled or settled status. The foundation course, because it's a 6-month course, can still accept EU students who have pre-settled or settled status. Yes, that's right, who do not have pre-settled and settled status. So if you're an EU student, you can still come on our 6-month course. Applicants from Ireland are not affected by that. So I can't tell you how frustrating that's been for us, but I'm sorry that is the case at the moment. Also, in terms of eligibility, you'll see a lot of this information I'm going to give you now on our website. So this is to do with age. So the minimum age for our foundation course and for our 3-year course is 18, and for our 1-year course is 21. Because we are a vocational trainer, we have no academic qualifications for entry into our courses. So that's one of the advantages of the qualification that we do give, which is the vocational qualification, which is a diploma. So that's come up about why don't we offer degrees in the Q&As. And that's why, because what we are doing is vocational training. It's not academic training. And it allows us not to have any academic qualifications for entry. All entry is on audition. So it doesn't matter what qualifications you have up to this point in your life. So we are, of course, open for applications for auditions at the moment, and our applications close on the 31st of May. So we are one of the latest deadlines of the top drama schools to apply and to bring together the information that we ask you to bring together for your first application. I don't intend here to run through the application process because really that's very, very well explained on our how to apply page. But it is via the website, and it does require you to create self-tapes of pieces, 2 pieces, and there's some great guidance on there, but also asks you to answer a question as well, which is part of the first round of auditions. So for our 1-year and 3-year course, we have 3 separate phases to an audition process, and that's the first round, which is wholly a self-tape and the completion of an application form, and then you go to a first recall if you get to the next stage. And we're doing that first recall as live Zoom interviews, and that'll be with 2 of our panel members who are extremely experienced alongside one of our graduates. So if you go to our website and look at the how to apply page, you'll see the panel there, and if you click on their photographs, you'll get their CVs, their bios, and you can see what they've done in the industry. But they're all, I mean, the core audition panel members are hugely experienced and know the school extremely well. And it's great to have a graduate as part of that panel. So if you get to the first recall stage, then you'll have an opportunity to pose some questions directly to someone who's trained here at the school. After the first recall, if you're going for a foundation course, you could receive an offer, a straight offer, or we'll give you a waiting list offer. Now, one of the questions that did come up in advance is when do we start offering and how does that work? Because we audition for such a long period of time, we can't give offers out to all of our students at the start of the process, because we need to have enough places left at the end of the process, of course. So we do something called waiting list offers, and that is in effect almost the equivalent of an offer, but we will come back to you at a later date, and that could be converted into a full offer. So that allows us to keep on having places to offer until right at the end of the process. Our intention at the moment with the COVID situation is to still see the second recall, which is the final part of the process for the 1-year and 3-year course, here at the school in person. That is our aim. But of course, we will have to be flexible with that depending on what's happening in the country with the pandemic. So we would have hoped to have got to the first of the second recalls in our Easter holidays, so sometime across April. So we will continue to work to that and to fit in other second recalls after that date. So that's our intention. There is an audition fee of £45, at the lower end of audition fees for applying to drama school. And we also have a supported application fee scheme. So I think there was something in the Q&A for somebody about audition fee waivers. Have a look at the supported application fee scheme. You may well be eligible for that. And that is the schools trying to ensure that everybody can get access to an audition despite their financial background or any other reason that they might find it difficult to apply for our courses. So have a look at those. Have a look at that on the website. There's a form there, and if you have any questions, just get back in touch with us. So Ed talked about the qualification. That's a Trinity College London diploma for the 1-year course and the 3-year course. So both equivalent on the National Qualifications Framework of a level 5 for the 1 year and a level 6 for the 3-year, which is the equivalent of a BA and an MA, but is not, because it's a vocational qualification. The foundation course is not an accredited course. So it's a course that we have devised ourselves and is not accredited by anybody externally. So funding, I think some people asked some questions about cost, but also about how fees are paid. And I think our admissions administrator answered some of those questions, but just to say that for the 1 year and the 3-year course, something like 70 or 80% of our students are able to get access to government funding to support their training here. So that's either through something called the Dance and Drama Award or through something called an Advanced Learner Loan. So they'll take the form either of a grant, and a grant is something which is very rare these days, which would cover the course fees and could give you maintenance and does not need to be paid back. So it's not a loan. So there are only 19 drama schools in the country that have access to something called the Dance and Drama Awards, and we're lucky to be one of those. So it's based on your household income, so it's means tested, but it's a brilliant scheme and makes a huge difference to people being able to get access to our school. The Advanced Learner Loan is available as a loan in just the same way as student loans are, and the eligibility on that is to do with age, so you need to be 19 and over to get an Advanced Learner Loan. Other than that, there's no credit rating, and if you've had a student loan in the past because you've done an undergraduate course already, then you're still eligible for a loan. So our fees, I think this was answered by our admissions administrator, but just for everyone to know, our fees for the 1 year and 3 year course are paid on a termly basis. So if you have fees to pay, it does spread them across the year, which makes things easier. Our foundation course is just 6 months. We ask for those fees to be paid in advance. So we do have other bursaries and scholarships available. So there are things that we ourselves have, so hardship funds that we've built up over a period of time, funding that we've acquired to support our students, to help them with living costs, to help them with course fees across the time that they're with us. What I can tell you is that once you're offered a place, we will do everything in our power to ensure that you can get here if finance is a barrier. So, that's what we work to do. The bursaries and scholarships that are available to us some of them are only available to a handful of specialist drama schools. So we can get access to certain schemes like the Laurence Olivier Award and John Gielgud because we are one of the top 20 drama schools in the country. So depending on which course you are and which year you're in, we could also nominate you for those schemes. So I appreciate that's a lot of information I've just thrown at you, everybody. And it's probably fired up lots more questions. One of the questions which has come up in the Q&A, and I am sure we will address, but I'm going to invite my colleagues who take part in the auditions to really cover this in detail, is, you know, what's the expectation of you in an audition? You know, how should you prepare? And I think I'll ask either Ed or Juliet, who are on the audition panel, to cover that when we do our Q&A. So I think I'll leave it at that for the moment before we go into the Q&A.
Thank you. Thanks, Liz. And as always, do look at our website. As Liz says, all that information you can find on the website, or just give us a ring. I think at this point, I'm going to unshare my screen, and hopefully our panelists will start to magically appear. And so we'll start with the staff Q&A. So let me just stop the share, and hopefully we'll start seeing everyone appear. Here we are, thank you. So let me just get myself organized. So we've had some questions that have already come in. So I'll start with those. One of them sort of picks up on a theme that's already been talked about, but it's, the question was, how does the school prepare students for working in the industry? Well, I mean, that's a massive question, so thank you, and a really good one, and an important one. You know, we are training people for an industry, and it's a very difficult industry, tough industry, we know that. I suppose the way we do that is, I think it's about encouraging students to find their voice, and also giving them the confidence. So we're very serious. I said at the beginning about how we take the craft of acting very seriously. And I think when people leave the Oxford School of Drama, you know, they have a confidence in themselves, and they have a set of tools, if you like, that they can apply to the work, and they have a process that they're comfortable and confident in, so they can turn that to whatever genre or whatever style of theatre or film or radio or whatever futuristic storytelling technique comes out in the future. I think our students are able to turn themselves to that with a confidence and a surety. And one of the most satisfying things, I think, from a teacher's point of view, certainly for me, and Juliet touched on this as well, is seeing people come in who may be a million miles away from that when they arrive in terms of confidence, and seeing them grow and develop and stretch that talent is a very exciting thing. So I think it's that, and I think it's also the connections to the industry, which is really important, and the connections at the right stage. I think that's really important. So a Q&A early on is quite useful, but actually working with someone for the industry later on is also vital, because of course, when you then leave, those are the people, if you like, you've had a free audition with. They've got to know you while you were training, and hopefully they'll then employ you in the future. There are many other ways, but I think those are the two areas that I would focus on. I've got another question which I'm going to throw at Juliet, because someone has asked, how does the foundation course prepare students for auditioning?
I would say that the foundation course in itself and everything that you're taught, and just in being here, in a way, does prepare you in how you approach auditioning without you knowing it. So that's kind of going on, and you only realize it as you reflect back. However, we do obviously do a course. So I myself, at the moment, am on panels for auditioning and have done it for many years. So as someone who's been on the other end, I do run a course to help help the students with auditioning. However, the difference is, we don't train you up in 2 speeches and then you use those in order to audition for a 3-year course. And the reason is that that's very narrow. It's too dependent on my ability to direct you and bring things out of you. And I'd much rather you gained the approach, the skills, the ways of going about this, and then you truly use yourself within your own choice of pieces and apply the work. So that's our approach, because I feel to me, it doesn't seem right to have trained you up on these things, and there's far too much of me in what you're doing and not enough of you and how you've grown and your potential, if that makes sense.
Juliet, while you're talking about the foundation course, can I just draw attention to a few things that are in the Q&A? So it's probably a good moment to bring those in as well. So questions are being asked live. There's one about, is the foundation course a standalone acting course, or is the aim of the course to prepare someone for further training?
Okay, so I would say that it is standalone. It can be used in different ways for different people. So it is standalone. People can come and use it and grow in many different ways. Sometimes people come and through doing it, they discover things about themselves and their ambition, and this very formative time in their lives, they then make better decisions about what they do next. So it launches them and helps them fulfill their ambition and go towards doing a 3-year course. Yes. However, for others, it will bring about other things for them, and they will start to make a different choice in life. And then they may perhaps go to university, do something else, or come back to acting at another point. So there's lots of variety of routes that people go after doing the foundation course. And I really wouldn't want everyone to think they have to be using it to get themselves on a 3-year. It can be used by that. It gives you a wonderful taster of that, and you get taught by everybody who teaches on main courses. So obviously it can be used for that. However, it's great that it is also open to other routes and allows you to make that decision in your life as well, I would say.
I've got some quick questions here. So Kirsty, I'll come to you. Just, do you need professional experience prior to training to be accepted on the 1-year course?
No, you don't. I think what we're looking for when we are considering applicants for the 1-year course is a place of readiness from which they can take on the training within 1 year. So, and obviously we have ways that we measure that, or that we assess that, but it's not about your past experience as an actor. So the past experience of our 1-year cohort is very varied. It is true to say that in terms of your physical instrument, your vocal instrument, your ability to find that imaginative connection and to work through truth and connection in a way that I was talking about earlier on. Those are some of the areas that we're looking at, when we assess whether we feel somebody can take on the training in 1 year and be then ready to join the industry. And of course, that's the question that we have to weigh up very seriously, because we would be doing anybody a disservice if they weren't ready to enter the industry after that intensive 1-year training.
We've got so many questions on the Q&A and the chat. I'm going to rattle through as many as I can with quick, short answers. Okay, so first one up from Mateen. Thank you, Mateen. I'll take this one. It says, do British casting directors have links with international casting agents to get work abroad? I think, Mateen, what you're talking about is agents and casting directors, two separate things. Casting directors in this country often cast things overseas as well as in this country. And agents based in this country will also have links overseas, or could indeed be part of the same company. So actors often go between different countries. In terms of the relevance of that to drama schools, we bring in agents and casting directors all the time. In fact, we had casting directors come in and do mock castings with our students, and equally we'll have agents. We've got one coming in next term to talk about the role of an agent and the interaction with their clients. Max has asked, what actors / directors have you worked with that we may know? Also, thank you for hosting this webinar, which is hugely helpful during the pandemic. Our pleasure, Max. Kirsty, do you want to touch on that? Actors and directors who have come in? Just to give them
I mean, it's a bit difficult for me to know who you might know and who you may not know. But essentially, the directors that we make strong connections with tend to be emerging young directors. And we do that because they are at that point of their career really taking off, and they are creating work, or they are involved in a lot of the origins of new projects. And and they are essentially more likely to work collaboratively with our students when our students have left the drama school. So if you look at what our alumni do, you'll see that our alumni work from very high-end work. So for example, going into high-profile film or television, and also through various theatre work and into creating their own work as well. So I know I'm sort of giving a little bit of a kind of indirect answer, but essentially our graduates go to do a broad spectrum of work, and we facilitate many links into the industry through the training.
I mean, in terms of guests, I mean, if you want some names, last term, for instance, we had Prasanna Pawanaraja come in to do a talk. We had Duncan Jones, film director. So there's a kind of two quite high profile people, but from completely different worlds. And then we've also had people come in who are running new, young, exciting theatre companies. So like Wildcard, for instance. So a huge variety, just but off the top of my head. Very, very quick one, Kirsty, and this we have to be really quick.
We've got 25 questions in here, so we really need to have very...
Iona was asking, is there any dance on the 3-year course?
Yes.
Thank you. That's the kind of answer we need. Another question, Juliet, maybe for you, someone asking about the practitioners, things like Brecht. What kind of practitioners? So we're very Stanislavski based, but do you want to just give a few names and flavors of areas of work and practitioners?
It depends on the area. So I guess Laban, Lecoq, Chekhov, shout in, Kirsty.
Yeah, I think I read that question, and I think what they were asking is whether we take theatre practitioners such as Brecht and study their techniques. And the answer is we train our actors in order to be able to be flexible and take on any style of theatre or work. So we don't take practitioners and study their techniques per se, but for example, we may do a Brecht play. We've recently done Fear and Misery of the Third Reich, for example. So we're giving our actors a very kind of broad ability to take on broad different styles of work.
Scarlett was asking, how do you feel about multidisciplinary actors? Do you have any thoughts on balancing different creative pursuits? Not sure I fully get your question, Scarlett, but I think it's really important that actors can work across disciplines and that they can use their tools across genres. I think the idea that you're just a TV actor or you're just a theatre actor or you're just a restoration actor or whatever, it is really limiting. So I think, yes, multidisciplinary is really important. Amber, with regards to 1-year course, how much can one take out? Oh, in terms of, this is about advanced learner loans, Liz. Do you want to?
Yeah, because that's come up on a few times actually. So someone had written they thought you could only get £300 from it. It's not that, it's £7,395. That's the amount that you can borrow against our courses and against all Trinity College Diploma Performing Arts courses.
I've got another one for you here, Liz. Someone who wants to remain anonymous says they're visually impaired and they're a bit worried about whether that might affect their audition. I would say absolutely not.
No.
Liz?
That's it.
No, absolutely not. The 1-year course has a 21-year-old age requirement. What experience do you expect of applicants for that course? We've sort of answered that already, yeah. Marie, but thank you for the question. And a similar question from Marie, and going down, sorry, Marie, sorry, my computer's jumping. Neve. I've got a question from you. How do you as a school allow an actor to grow and flourish compared to others? Well, I think we've touched on that over the course of today, I hope. You know, I think it's creating space for them to feel safe to experiment, to try, and to feel secure and confident by the time they leave. Is there student accommodation guidance? Yes, is the simple answer. Liz, you want to touch very quickly on that?
Well, very quickly, we could get maybe ask the students to talk a little about that in the Q&A.
Yeah, okay, good idea. How am I doing for time? I'll do a couple more, and then someone was asking a very good question, which I'm going to throw at the students. But Juliet, Kirsty, you might want to throw in something, which is, how would you define readiness? I've often been told in the past, I'm not quite ready yet. Further feedback isn't given. It would be super helpful to know how you measure this. Well, first of all, just to quickly say, we do give feedback after the auditions, depending on how far you get. But definitions of readiness in terms of audition?
I think that sometimes quite a lot of focus is given to whether somebody has life experience, and I know that can be quite frustrating to applicants, you know, thinking, well, of course I don't have much life experience necessarily because, you know, I'm a certain age, but I actually think readiness is more to do with whether you are available to take on the training. So I think there's maybe something to look at about, you know, about being open and being playful, and about being courageous and having a go at things. We talk a little bit about boldness, but I wouldn't say that being bold for the sake of being sort of wild is what we're talking about. I think it's really about being open and available and you know, ready to dive into the training and some of the things that we described earlier. So I know it's not easy to pin down that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm going to do one more question, which, because there's a lot of questions about accommodations, which I'd encourage you all to throw that at the students. But there's just a question here about, does the school offer any help with auditioning for industries, TV, plays, shows, etc.? Yes, it's a vital part of the training. You know, if you may be brilliant in a rehearsal room, but if you can't get through the audition, no one would know. So yes, it's very much part of the training. And, you know, part of Oxford's culture is that we're a small family, and that means that family always keep in touch. So we're forever getting emails from graduates saying, what should I do about this? What should I do about that? And that sometimes includes advice about auditioning. But auditioning is a major part of the training. It has to be, you know, self-tapes, you know, they're really important, both for theatre now as well as film and telly. There are loads of other questions, but I won't leave any time for our students who you need to meet. So I'm going to wrap up there and hand over to Liz, who's going to host the next stage with the students. But a lot of these questions, I'm sure we can pick up with the students, Liz. So if the students can turn their cameras on, then they should magically appear. And my thanks to Kirsty and Juliet.
Brilliant. Oh, going to bounce in and out. Lovely. Thank you.
To you, Liz.
Thank you. So we've invited some of our current students to be here today so that you can ask them some questions. So do carry on putting those into the Q&A, and we'll keep picking those up. But before we start, I've asked each one of our students to talk, to say what course they're on and what year they're in, if that's relevant. And then to give us I've asked them to just give you a little insight, a little pithy thing, a little bit that they can tell you really about something that would be useful for you to know when considering whether the Oxford School of Drama is the right place for you to train. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Ayana to start.
Hi guys, I'm Ayana and I'm a first year on the 3-year course. One bit of advice I'd give to you guys would be to think about if you've enjoyed your audition, because I know for me a huge part of coming to OSD was me actually enjoying my audition and loving the tasks they gave me and all that kind of thing, and also being redirected by the staff at the school, and I just really enjoyed working with the panel. So yeah.
Brilliant, thanks Ayana. Farah?
Hi, my name is Farah. I'm also on the 3-year course in first year. So when it comes to choosing, I would say, a drama school and thinking about coming to Oxford, consider the location. and also the size of the school. So we are obviously a smaller school, which I think makes that family atmosphere a lot more evident, and the training, because it is a small school, it's a lot more intimate and everyone knows each other quite well. So definitely take that on board, and being in an isolated location, maybe that works well for you, away from the hustle and bustle, let's say, of London or a city. You can really focus on the training. Or are you someone who wants to be, during your training, in a city? Having said that, in our 3rd year we do go to London for the showing our showcases, but consider location.
Thanks. Nye.
Hello, I'm Nye. I'm on the 1st year, the 3-year course as well. Sadly, Farah's just said what I was going to say about location. I was going to talk about that as well, just in terms of also living around here. It's very isolated from it's not very near to actual Oxford. I live in Woodstock, which is the nearest town, which is lovely, but it is very quiet here. But yeah, the school is really, because it's isolated, it's so focused, which is really wonderful. That's something that I've really fallen in love with, is the fact that it's just so focused, and it's just a wonderful world of sort of, you know, everyone's only studying acting and nothing else going on, and the classes are so small, and there's this family here, and it's so inward facing. It's just wonderful. It's so inspiring to me.
Thank you. So two for the price of one. Arden and Dougie, who wants to start?
I'm Arden, and I'm on the 3-year course in 3rd year, like Doug. And one thing I just felt like saying was that, just looking back on like my time at Oxford, I think Kirsty kind of touched on a little bit, talking about just being bold and playful, and I think that's a really important part of especially this course. It kind of teaches you to really find and embrace your impulses as an actor, and just, our principal Ed talks about a lot, but the courage of your convictions. And if you have that, then you have the self-confidence to really like believe in what you're doing. I think that's a really important thing to sort of take with you, if you like. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dougie, also on the 3-year course, 3rd year. I would think one really good thing to consider before applying is why you are applying, like what's driving you and what motivates you to want to be an actor. And then just remember that before you go into the audition room, and just like have that in the back of your mind. And yeah, like Ayana just said, have fun, enjoy it. And everybody's on your side, so try not to get too nervous.
Chelsea.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm on the 1-year course, and everyone has kind of said what I wanted to say. I was going to talk about location. The reason why I kind of veered towards Oxford was because it's very centered. It's a tight-knit school. I went to a very small uni, so I kind of understood what being in a small kind of establishment means. And you have there's attention on pastoral care as well. You know, there's a level of you have that space to yourself, but also there's people you can speak to, there's time to speak to people, teachers are very happy to listen to you after class. So having that kind of community aspect, I think, is very important, and you feel very safe. And it's fun to kind of run into people at Sainsbury's. That's another one. So I think being in a place like you can just spot, your friends from across the street or something like that. It's quite very fun to be in that space together. So yeah.
Thanks, Chelsea. Finally, Grunya.
Hello, I'm Grania, and I'm on the 1-year course as well. And I was actually also going to talk about location. But I think just to add to what everyone said is that the location is amazing because, I don't know, no one in my year really is from around Oxfordshire or knows it that well, or so you're not somewhere where you have all of your home friends or lots of people you're already familiar with. And that means there is less distraction. So there's just so much space to totally commit to doing what you love. And I think especially on the 1-year course, that space and time is worth so much, where the people you're seeing are the people who you're kind of like working with or playing with every day. And I don't know, you learn a lot really quickly. So it's good to have that space.
Right. So I'm going to pick up some of the questions which are coming through here. And actually, Bronya, I just think I'll stay with you, because there's one from Bradley which says, I understand that the 1-year course is intensive, but do you have time to do other things?
Not really. No, there is time to do. Obviously, we had a really weird one because we were in lockdown the whole of last term as well. So there wasn't actually anything else to do, which maybe helped with the focus element. So I work alongside it as well, and I was doing tutoring, which is really good because you can do it from home every day after school and on the weekends, which was a bit of a stretch, but because I know I can organize myself and work like that, but I'd rather not do it. It is possible. So it's possible to do other things alongside, and it's probably possible to socialize if the pubs are open and you're allowed out. But obviously,
there is a very specific question about what is the social culture from Luke like for students of OSD, and I think I'm going to ask Arden and Dougie, because they're the only two who've actually been here non-pandemic times.
Normally it's crazy. Yeah, normally it's actually really nice. Woodstock's like this small village, and there's like a community of drama school students, and I think you get to know your neighbours quite a lot here, which is really nice. And yeah, you like bump into people in the street, and I guess you don't really get that in London. It's so big, you just got to like get swamped by the size of it. But yeah, Woodstock's really small, and then there's Kidlington, which is a big town just outside Oxfordshire. Yeah, and then obviously some folks live in Oxford, which is nice.
But you're never far from essentially everyone, which is really nice. Which is handy for rehearsals and just hanging out. Yeah.
Thank you. I forgot, did you say, I don't think you did, you said what course you were on, but actually quite a few of our students here have also been on our foundation course. So even though we've got no foundation course students here today, Ayana, Farah, Dougie, Arden, and Nye, you were all on the foundation, weren't you? Yeah. So just bear that in mind if people want to ask questions about that. There's a lovely one here from Taylor, which is there anything about Oxford that surprised you or you didn't expect from the school or training? Ayana, can you answer that?
Well, something about Oxford. So I used to live in Dubai. So the culture difference between living in the city to moving to a small village was a huge culture shock to me. And I honestly thought I'd be really bored. I thought it was going to be really boring and really, I don't know, just vanilla, I don't know. And coming to the school, and I think one thing that I really appreciate is just the people around me, because everyone is so just ready to just be nice to everyone and love life, and it sounds so whatever, but everyone's really together, and it's always fun and it's always really lighthearted. And even during like the pandemic times, like sure, we haven't really been able to socialize as much outside of school, but there's still the element of I'm seeing these great people every day and I'm doing what I love. And yeah, so I think that answers kind of the question.
Right, there was one earlier that said, what does an average day look like at the school? Who fancies answering that one? You know, what's the day like at the school?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah? Yeah? I'll take it. Yeah, there we go. Average day. So, I mean, you always start off with bodycon. So that's 15 minutes, half an hour, depending on which course you're on. To essentially prep your voice and body for the day and just put in good habits for you for entering the industry as well, just to keep your instrument in tune. And then you normally go on to do discipline classes in the morning. So that can be voice, movement, or stuff like singing. And then that'll take you to lunch, and then you have like an afternoon block, which is normally a double session, where, again, depending where you are on the course, either you'll be working towards a project, so if you're on the foundation, you'll be working with your class or the other foundation groups to create a show, or you'll be working within your own, like the first years or the second years will be working towards a show. And then sometimes you'll do, you'll have your little film block, which again will normally happen in the morning, but it's fairly similar from day to day, which I think is quite good, because there's a lot of variation within it, of course, but you kind of know what you need to be ready for. So that's quite good. That's a typical day, yeah.
And finish 5:45, 5:30.
Yeah, so it finishes the day about 5:30, 5:45, but some students also stay in the evening and are allowed to just pick up a key and use all of the spaces if they want to. And we lay on a late bus of an evening, one day of the week, to allow as many people as possible to stay at the school. So that might lead us on to some very practical questions that came in advance, but have also come up on the Q&A, which is, how on earth do people get to the school every day? So it'd be good just if anyone wants to just sort of pick up, I suppose, where people have chosen to live is quite an interesting one, and how on earth do you get to the school?
I'll happily talk about that one.
Thank you.
So there's a bus that comes from Oxford town through various villages that pick students up all the way through, but I live in Woodstock. A few other people do as well. I think most of the third year live here now. And the advantage of that is that we can walk to school, so you don't have to pay that fee for the bus, and you get a lovely half-an-hour stroll in the morning to further wake you up before you do your body con. Which was because I was on the foundation as well, and I experienced that last year, so that was kind of my main motivation for living here. That's a wonderful thing about Woodstock, but apart from that, there's just a bus that picks people up in the morning, and as Liz said, there's a late one on Tuesday, so that people who don't live in Woodstock can use the spaces after school. Whereas if you do live here, you can use the spaces after school any day and still be able to get home.
Thank you, Nye. I'm going to try and bring some questions together, which I'm going to ask you, Chelsea, to cover if you don't mind. Because there's ones, I think they're sort of COVID-related ones. So I suppose it's something about what we've tried to achieve here at school during a really difficult time. And Anna has asked, as a one-year student, do you still feel you've gotten a lot out of the programme despite not being able to interact physically as much with other actors? And there's quite a few other questions about how, what have we done as a school during this period? Would you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, no problem. I feel like we had a group chat before we started, and so first 1 year's kind of shared our fears of maybe it would limit the training, but honestly, the fact that we had face-to-face already was good. So our class was split into two, so it was 9 and 9, which allowed for us to socially distance in class kind of properly. And we wore masks, but we were allowed to take masks off if we were super socially distanced. And for example, in voice classes where we had to use our mouth and our teacher Ashley would have to look at how we were moving, we were able to take that off. If we're doing a scene, as long as we're socially distanced from our partners, we can also take our masks off. So I think it's also a new way of entering the industry and, trying to play with proxemics with your character and with your partner, and how to create intimacy or movement. I think it was a challenge, but I think it's very possible. And I personally don't feel like I've lost anything from the training. I think it's still very enriching. We're doing it face to face a lot of the time. And we're challenging our acting, trying to work around socially distancing and having masks, and maybe not sometimes having masks. So yeah, I personally think the school was, I think they managed it pretty fantastically so far. So yeah, I felt like it's been, and I think a lot of the people from 1 year, from what I know, are also very happy with the training so far. So yeah, I don't think you miss out on too much.
Anybody else want to answer that about how it's, what's been like? I know hopefully this won't be the same for people who are starting next September, let's hope. But anybody else want to answer an aspect of that?
I think what's been really amazing with the way the course has been adapted is that so much of it is still face to face. So we're all in the building with each other 4 days a week last term, which was amazing. And just being able to like talk to each other around classes and maintain that like physically being in the same place aspect was really important. And then one day on Fridays we were on Zoom doing lots of things that just made sense to do on Zoom, like Q&As and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel really lucky because I feel like we didn't miss out in that aspect much at all.
Okay, thank you. There's questions coming through about accommodation, quite a lot of them. I know we've to a certain extent talked about, areas where people live and how you found that accommodation. Farah, do you want to touch on that one? Just how do people go about that when you don't know the area at all and you're coming to the middle of nowhere in some respects?
So in Oxford, so I'm like from London, so I was quite surprised by how there's quite, I would say, variety of locations that are within the school bus journey, or if it's Woodstock, walking distance to the school that you can live in. So there's Woodstock, which is near the school where Nye lives, like a small little type of town, quite quiet. But then there's also Kidlington, which is more like a suburb. And then there's also city centre, so central Oxford. So when it comes to accommodation, you don't necessarily have to live in a village or small town. If a student wants to live in the city, central Oxford, they can do that. And in the mornings, it's just the bus journey to school, which is part of the school bus. So accommodation and transport is covered by living in the city. There's a range of house shares or flat shares with other students, either in your course. For example, I live with Grania and Chelsea, who are in the 1-year course. So in a house share, there's a range of houses. So a student house, flats, like a student flat. And in general, it's a lot more, I would say, cheaper than living in London, whether you're living in Woodstock, Kidlington or Oxford, and the amount of space you're getting is a lot more too. On the foundation course, some of us lived in host families, so that was a situation where a family had a room in their house, which you would have, and there was access to like the kitchen. It was quite nice because it's a 6-month course and your food is covered. You don't have to worry about bills, but there's still an element of you having that independence being in a host family. And there's so many options when it comes to accommodation. Like we have one student in the school who lives on a boat. Anything is possible, and it's not just, I think the stress is it's not just a really isolated like city Oxford. There's a lot you can do. So let's say if one chooses to live in central Oxford, there's easy access to a huge shopping centre, there are restaurants, that's where all the clubs are. If that answers the question.
I think it gives a good feel for, if you want to be in city centre, you can be. If you don't, you can just be out in a village or in a small town, and just you're going back and you're really focusing. And it's interesting that a lot of our 1-year course students tend towards living in the countryside rather than the city, because they know that it's an intensive course. And it just really means that they're going home and they're focusing on, and they're preparing and working every evening. Lovely. Okay, so I've got one from Hannah, which says, drama school is consuming and a commitment. How does work factor into that in terms of outside work? Are most people not working in order to be at school? Is there an ability to have a job alongside this? So who would like to answer that one? Anyone? Because I mean, partly for your own experience, but other students that Nye?
Yeah, I work on the weekends, or I did this whole term. I'm in a position where I have to, so you certainly can. It's not I mean, I think you'd probably struggle in the week because you're finishing at 5:30, so it's difficult to find work, especially out in these small villages. There's limited stuff available, but in town there's loads of, it's a big uni town, so there's loads of stuff there. And I work in a little bar, and 1 day a week pretty much supports me alongside the dada that the school sorts you out with. So it's very feasible to do so. And then I still have 1 day on the weekend to do my own thing and the schoolwork that I need for the Monday. So that shouldn't be a concern of yours if you're worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case for a lot of students, isn't it? Who need to work alongside their training to cover living costs or other costs. So, I mean, I think it's tough, as you say, to work in the weekday, in the kind of evening work.
The other thing to say is in the holidays, you then just have to cram as much in as you can and just save a bit for them the rest of the term. Obviously, that's harder right now in COVID times. But
yeah, it's tougher at the moment. There's no doubt about that. Ability to work is really compromised on normal. But I was just going to say the holidays are a really important time for a lot of our students to be working, and they're substantial enough time, 4 or 5 weeks at Christmas, 4 weeks at Easter, 10 weeks at summer, for a substantial amount of work to happen to enable people to come back in the next academic year, having hopefully being able to earn money across the summer. It's been really tough this year, but we know it's been much harder than normal. Right, what else have we got here? What age did you audition for the course? I think this has come up in terms of, what, there's another one here, which is, is there an old that's too old or something like that? But also the fact that, and this is a question actually we often get asked when students meet people in the flesh on an open day, which is how many times did you have to audition, or how many years did you have to audition before you got in? Shall we go around everybody and get that one answer? Because I think that's one that's quite interesting to hear. Ayana.
So I auditioned when I was 17 for the foundation and 3 year, and then I got foundation. So I started that when I was 18. And then I'm just very lucky to have got straight onto the 3 years. So it took me 2 years, I guess you could say, to get in to the 3 year course. Yeah.
Me. Was that me, Liz?
I said Chelsea, sorry.
Right.
Oh. I've been auditioning for 4 years, since I was 18 actually, for usually 3 year courses, but this is my first time auditioning for a postgrad course after I've left uni, and this is also my first time auditioning for Oxford. So yeah, and I got in.
Brilliant. Oh.
That was me. That was me. That's incredible. So same as Ayana, pretty much. Yeah, 17, 18 auditioned for the foundation course, did that, and then after that auditioned for the 3 year. I was fortunate enough to get on. Yeah, and now in 3rd year.
Dougie, what was your experience?
I left school, took a year out, and then same as Arden, so did the foundation course and then got onto the 3 year, yeah.
9?
Oh yeah, I'm similar to Dougie. I finished school and then had a year doing other things. I wasn't actually sure if this was what I wanted to do, and then auditioned for a few drama schools. And I never actually had the intention of doing a foundation course, but I was offered that course here, and I'm very thankful that I did, because it was, made me sure that this was right. And then that following year, auditioned here again, and now I'm here. But I think something to say about that foundation course was that this year of auditioning, I only auditioned here because I knew after that course that this is what I wanted to be, and I didn't need to audition anywhere else. So that was quite fortunate.
Quite fortunate you got in.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nat. Grunya, what's your experience?
So I auditioned for a couple of drama schools last year, but not actually Oxford. And then this year, auditioned to Oxford for the first time when I was 22. And yeah, got very lucky and got onto the 1 year course. But I'd already done a degree as well. So I was only applying to 1 year courses.
And finally,
Same as Arden and Ayana, I auditioned last year of so year 13 when I was 19, and then for BAs and foundations, got a foundation, did the foundation, and then auditioned for a range of BAs, and I'm at the same place that I did the foundation at Oxford. Yeah.
brilliant.
Having said that, you can get onto, I know all of us are foundation students, one can get onto a BA not having done a foundation. It's definitely not necessary, and big is a good help too.
Right, lovely. Okay, I'm going to ask one final question of everybody, which has come from James Riley. And you kind of touched some of this, I've touched on this already, but what made you pick Oxford above other drama schools? Dougie.
Great question, James. I think I remember standing in the dance studio talking to George Peck, the old principal, and I said, we were talking about how it was in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, I like it. It's quiet, and I was yeah, I grew up in the middle of nowhere as well, so I've always been in the sticks. Yeah, and I think I said it was like tranquil and it was nice. It was like, yeah, London didn't appeal to me, so Oxford School of Drama was the one, I think. Yeah. Audie?
Yep, very similar. Sort of grew up in the countryside as well, so I think that it's nice being able to be, and I think it in another sense as well, because there feels like there's less distractions in a way. You really feel like you're present with the course, and yeah, you can really give your attention to it. Even like I think Ayana mentioned it, when you audition somewhere, if you get a good feeling from the audition, I think that's a good feeling to go off. And I definitely experienced that. And every time I go into a big city, it always felt quite like, oh gosh, like quite a lot, but it always felt very comfortable in Oxford, a little Woodstock. But and just you get to know everyone really well, and the teachers, and you're looked after in that sense. That's a huge thumbs up as well.
Okay. Ayana, what made you pick Oxford?
Oh, so many things. There's so many different factors. I think just the main thing was that I felt like the teachers genuinely cared about you as a person, not just you as a student. And I didn't feel that everywhere I had auditioned. And obviously, I mean, doing the foundation as well, like I knew the quality of the training, and I know the quality of the training. And yeah, there was just like a gut feeling that was like, yeah, okay, you need to be here and you need to do this. And also, if I was in London or a big city, I know for a fact I'd be distracted, so it's just nice not to have those distractions all the time. Yeah.
Chelsea.
Hi. So yeah, like Ayana's, a lot of multiple reasons. I'd never been to Oxford. I'd never knew about Oxford before this year. Yeah, I never went to the school or anything. So I did a virtual tour, but like the actual one online, that was the only thing I'd seen of Oxford. That already gave me an inkling of being secluded, a beautiful countryside. I'm from London. I kind of wanted to be super focused and super away. But I think one of the big things was my final audition. Kirsty, who is on this panel tonight, and David Sibley, who's not here, were two huge reasons why. I think the way I was directed and just the warm welcome I got from them. And I had a terrible final audition with another school that also played a huge part. So I think sometimes, Grania knows, so sometimes you feel just this feeling, there was a warmness from the teachers, and that was a very huge reason why I came to Oxford.
Lovely, thank you. Grania, anything?
Mine's really similar. It's just how much I learned about the school, like through auditioning here, and how kind everyone was. Everyone was so kind, and you walked into an audition room and felt like they wanted you to do really well, which everyone says about their school, but the only school where I felt that was actually true was Oxford. And yeah, that, and then also with applications last year, early last year, it was obviously the first lockdown and everything going wrong with coronavirus, and all of the recalls were postponed everywhere because people wanted to do them in person and didn't know what was going on and that kind of thing. And a lot of the other schools were just such a mess around it and not very careful around it, or not very considerate of like the people applying and that kind of thing. And Oxford was just so lovely and so permanently in contact about what was going on. And I think I suddenly understood what being somewhere small like Oxford would mean, and what a huge advantage that is in terms of just being able to really care about student welfare and being able to organise a student body and being able to do exciting things and take risks. So yeah.
Thank you for that. The final two, have you got anything to add to what made you pick Oxford above other schools now?
I felt, yeah, similar to everybody, I just felt really seen by the panel when I auditioned Foundation, at least that first time. Whereas other schools I've been to in London and stuff, sometimes it's very quick and you're there for 10 minutes and that's it, and then you're just in and out and that's done. Whereas here I felt really like they genuinely took an interest in what I had to show for myself, or who I was, which encourages you, I guess. It puts you at ease, makes you comfortable, and there's just such a wonderful atmosphere at the school, especially amongst the students. People keep talking, I mean, Ed kept talking about this family vibe, but it's really true. Everyone really looks after each other, and there's a real focus and attention to each student, and because the classes are so small, everyone has their opportunity to be looked after, and that's just really so attractive compared to anywhere else that I've been. Nowhere else seemed to have that attention to detail to the individual, which is just as anything.
All right, then you want to add something? What made you pick?
Yeah, I really liked on the audition day, I think, how I felt there was a lot of individual attention. So a lot of focus on the actor and the person as an individual, and also the idea of being on such like a school that's quite isolated and secluded. It's almost like being on the foundation course or the BA or the 1 year course, the 3 year, sorry, and the 1 year course. You're most of our students live outside of home on these 3 courses. So it's like a break from life. Anything that's been going on in your mind, you come to Oxford, you're here for whatever time period, and you can fully immerse yourself in the training, in the acting, and developing relationships with your students like around you. And I don't think I found that atmosphere at any other drama school that I auditioned at.
That's lovely. Thank you for that. Now, I know we haven't managed to answer all your questions out there, so forgive us for that, but I hope we've got through quite a lot of them for you. We'll probably finish off typing up some responses this evening, just to make sure we've covered as many as we can of your different aspects of your questions. But I think the highlight of our open days is always this lot we're looking at here, these students, and definitely makes a huge difference to incoming people who are beginning to think about, you know, whether they apply and where they should go. This makes such a huge difference to hear it from their peers, in effect, rather than from us. So thank you very much, students. I'm sure, although you can't hear them, you can't see them, but all 90 odd people who are here with us at the moment will also be applauding you now. I can hear it. I can hear it. And so thank you all very much for taking part today. And we'll see you all soon. All right.
Okay, my thanks to all our students. They are, as Liz said, they are the best ambassadors, really. And I've frantically been trying to answer as many questions as I could while that was happening, typing the answers, as was our admissions administrator. So thank you very much for all those questions. I just want to answer one that's come in just before we finish off, which, because it has come up a couple of times. Someone was asking about the auditions, and they were just talking about how they've auditioned a lot for drama schools, and they're worried that they're getting a bit in their head. And it also links with lots of questions that come in around people being nervous at auditions and things like that. And I just want to say that it is tough getting into any drama school. We are lucky that in the sense that we are hugely oversubscribed, and we only take such tiny numbers. So it is tough to get in. But I would just say to kind of encourage you that being nervous at an audition is okay. We would expect some people to be nervous, that's all right. There is no such thing as the perfect audition. And in fact, if you did do the perfect audition, we probably wouldn't take you. So don't worry about that. I think the important thing is to pick something that excites you. And don't pick it for that reason, not because you're trying to impress or show off or anything like that. Pick a piece that means something to you, that resonates with you. And then finally, forget that it's an audition. If you can, it's an opportunity for you to be this person, this character in that world, and let it just be about that. But of course, we appreciate that you might be nervous, but that's not a problem as far as the Oxford School of Drama is concerned. We should sort of finish off really just by thanking you all for coming. If you have any questions, do please consult the website. There's lots of information on there, including advice about the audition process. I've been told to remind you that we did offer a prize for those of you who registered and turned up for this session today. The prize was a free audition, and we will be pulling the name out of the hat, so to speak, or the name out of the virtual hat, I should say. And we will contact you by email and let you know. So congratulations for that. Liz, is there anything you wish to say before we wind this up?
No, I think I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's given you a feel for the school and the people who work here and the people who train here, which is entirely our intention today. So, so thanks. I mean, thanks for being interested. Thanks for turning up today and listening to everybody speak. I hope you can hear how genuine and committed both staff and students are to their training here. It's it's a serious business, making a decision about where you go and train, a really serious business. It's got to be right for you. And we absolutely know this is not right for everyone. But I hope today has helped you to make a decision about whether you think this might be the right place for you.
And a final thank you. And there are lots of messages of thanks coming in on the Q&A, which we appreciate because it means that this is being useful for you guys, which is the most important thing. As Liz quite rightly said, it's a big deal picking the right drama school and picking the right course. And I wish you lots of luck. I would encourage you to do your research. There are lots of courses out there. There are lots of drama schools out there. We only have the 3. We're not a factory of courses. That doesn't interest us. We have 3 courses, very clear about what they do. And I'd encourage you to research the courses that you're thinking about and the schools that you're thinking of going, because the worst thing that can happen is you end up at the place that just isn't right for you. We hope Oxford's right for you. We think it's right for a lot of people, but then we are biased. And I should just point out, someone's just prompted me, I should just point out there's been a lot of talk about how we are sort of, out in the countryside and all of that. But just to reassure those of you who are city lovers, as indeed I am before I joined Oxford, London is only an hour away. There's a very fast train and a very good coach service. So students do often go down there at weekends to experience theatre and the arts in London, as well as taking advantages of things happening in Birmingham, which is an hour or so going the other way, or Stratford-upon-Avon, which isn't too far away for the RSC. And of course, as I said, as you get further along the course becomes a bit more outward focus with you going to venues outside of the school, which include shows in London and theatres outside the school. Just been prompted to point that out because lots of people have been asking about that side of the course. So I think we should end it there. Thank you. I'm sorry we couldn't get through all your questions, but we had so many. But thank you for coming. Thanks to all our students for joining us today, and for all the staff, particularly those behind the scenes, for making this all possible. My thanks to them. And from myself and from Liz, I think we'll say goodbye and thank you very much.